What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Blazers Uprise Live here on a Thursday night. We have a jam-packed episode for you guys today. So much to talk about. Sorry for going live a little late. Got things going on. But we are ready to go for probably a 2-hour show as we discuss the Blazers' third overall draft pick. This is our first time being back in our normal setup, Eric, since the draft lottery. Shout out to everybody who made it out to the draft lottery. Shout out to everybody that was in chat at the draft lottery. We set viewership records with our draft lottery stream. Had peak viewership of 2,400 concurrent, which was amazing. Some people even saw 2,550. I don't know. Sometimes the numbers lie on YouTube, but thank you to everybody that showed out in person or in stream for that lottery stream. It was a ton of fun. And now after it, we got a ton of storylines surrounding the third pick. There's a ton of storylines surrounding the second pick with the Charlotte Hornets. I dropped a video on that earlier today. I will also have another video dropping overnight after the stream is concluded, and then should have a lot of videos coming up in the next 5 days or so just talking about this pick and a lot of the storylines with it. Anyway, what's going on, Eric? How's it going, man?
Oh, fine.
Why is it just fine? You sound downtrodden.
It's just the ridiculous time of year where, Portland has to just give away the third pick and get nothing in return, or give Dame away for free because we're a poverty franchise and no one can do anything other than just get fleeced in trade. So we just have to give away all our pieces.
I had that tweet. Like, it's amazing to me how Portland is always in every awful trade idea I see this summer. And, like, I feel like Portland, more than any other franchise, has the worst trade ideas on Twitter. So we are going to talk about a rumor, quote unquote, from a trusted source within another team, quote unquote. But we're going to go into why it is absolute complete BS, okay? And not to trust it because it is completely asinine, okay? And we got Gabe in here too, which is gonna be fun because it might be about the guy in the thumbnail, so that's gonna be fun to talk about. And then we'll talk about the Charlotte Hornets conundrum, and maybe I'm curious your thoughts on that conundrum because I've heard a bunch of videos, I've watched a bunch of videos on different guys talking about the Hornets position as they sit at 2. So that'll be fun. We are here to dispel the BS that Eric is talking about. Okay? That's what we're here for. We're here to guide you through all the rumors that are and aren't legitimate. And there's going to be a lot of them that aren't. Okay? We even already have conflicting reports on how well Brandon Miller is interviewing Eric. So it's that time of year. We have not been in a position where we've had draft rumors fly. Even last year at 7, like there was some, but it was at 7.
Yeah.
At 3, it's different. This is going to be a new experience for all of us. Well, and we're here to guide you through it.
Especially when the GM comes out and says that they're basically interested in trading the pick, kind of fuels all that,
And Charlotte landing number 2 also created a lot of interest in how this draft is going to play out because they have LaMelo Ball. So do they want Scoot Henderson? Or do they like Brandon Miller enough to take him is the debate right now. So we have a lot to talk about. We'll take your questions. We'll talk about trade ideas for the pick. I mean, we could talk all night about this draft pick, but we got a whole month leading up to the draft to talk about this pick, and we got a ton of content coming over on the main channel. So Eric, I don't know where you want to start. Well, let me just start with this. Leave a like on the channel. We're going to start asking for likes more, okay? Leave a like on the live stream. We got 36 likes, 150 people in here. We greatly appreciate it when you hit the like button. It shows that you like us, and we like to be liked, okay? So we would like it if you like the stream. Anyway, Eric, the floor is yours.
Well, I posted yesterday on Twitter that, to me, there should be some sort of threshold. And if you do not uphold that level of standard when you make a post or a trade a suggestion or a fanspo tweet or something, you should automatically be IP banned from using any trade machines or being able, the word trade or any players in the NBA should be eliminated from your lexicon on Twitter or social media for doing that. And that should be your punishment for some of these trades that people are putting. Because, first of all, just take some time and learn what a valid trade is. The Blazers can't just trade the third pick for Ayton, right? They can't just trade the third pick for Siakam or OG or anyone really, unless they're making less than 8.4 million, because they have to match contracts and salary and stuff. So people just assume that we have the third pick and we can trade it for a star, but it's not that simple. We have to include contracts, and our contracts don't exactly, if we give up Anthony, it's not exactly just throwing in a contract to match salaries. We don't have any expiring contracts that we're just dying to get rid of and stuff like that. So it's just, I get really frustrated with stuff like this, that there's no chance that Cronin, no matter how bad I've thought he has been so far as a GM, the Suns do not have anything worth giving up the third pick for Ayton and having to include salary to match that as well. It's there's no chance. And then these same people will say oh, the Suns are looking to add Damian Lillard for their big three of Booker and who are you going to give us? You have no first. You can literally not trade a first round pick. You have a bunch of second round picks, and you have Ayton and Chris Paul and Landry Shamet. You think we're going to frickin' trade Damian Lillard for Landry Shamet? Get the frick out of here, dude. These people are so frickin' dumb, and it pisses me off. And I can't handle it. I'm already triggered. It's been 2 days, dude. The Suns cannot trade for Damian Lillard. They just can't. They don't have anyone. We're not frickin' going. We're not gonna ruin the whole Dame era by thinking, oh, you know what would be good? Pairing DeAndre Ayton with Sharp and Ant. That'll make our future that much brighter, dude. It's so freaking dumb. And I feel like all these people should just be stripped of their basketball credibility immediately and never be taken seriously again.
Gabe, are you here? Are you in chat, Gabe? For those of you who don't know who Gabe is, hopefully Gabe is in chat, okay? Because I need to speak directly to Gabe, okay? Gabe runs Suns Valley Podcast, who we started collaborating back when they were at 400 subs. Now they're at 5K, which is just awesome to see. Over 5K subs for Gabe over there at Suns Valley Podcast. They're our brothers, Sundo and Gabe. They're our brothers from another mother, and they're Suns fans. And Gabe is here. Gabe, I will help you in any way possible. Try to educate a shred of your fan base. Okay? If you need any help helping to educate them and make them freaking realize that no, they can't trade Landry freaking Shamet, who you were raging about in the playoffs, by the way, which it was justified, okay? They can't trade Landry Shamet for Dame, bro. So the third pick is worth Ayton, but Damian Lillard is worth Chris Paul and Shamet in seconds? Really? I
think they had the 52nd pick or something in the draft. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, 52nd pick. I mean, oh my goodness. The Suns and Blazers have never been tied with a flex bomb before, but now that just happened today, and it's just complete BS. Bro, you guys would be the Suns would be lucky to get the 43rd pick back for DeAndre Ayton.
That contract is a negative contract. I'm just going to say it right now, and this has nothing to do with the third pick or whatever, but if it was possible under the CBA, the Suns could give us DeAndre Ayton. We have to take his contract, but we could just take it on. It doesn't count against our salary cap. we could just take it. I am turning it down. I do not want DeAndre Ayton.
I mean, same. And okay, so here's the tweet that sparked all this, okay? And I want you guys, if you haven't read it, and even if you have read it, I want you guys to pay very, very close attention to the way this tweet is worded, okay? This is from Flex from Jersey, who is like a blogger or something that supposedly had a source and like, I don't know. Do you know the backstory?
I don't know the full backstory, but, he's a Suns insider according to his Twitter bio. But anyways, he called the Kevin Durant trade. Never mind that it was 7 months later and that it was pretty much blown up, but they got super lucky to be right on that. But yeah. So basically, this dude is just a fan of the team. He also guaranteed DeAndre Ayton would be part of that trade initially too, and then had to backtrack on that when it was.
Yeah, so he was very wrong on the whole KD thing in multiple ways. But in the end, KD got to Phoenix, so therefore he's right about everything, is how some fans look at him. They look at him like a god. Okay? But he's basically just a Suns fan that now, has some clout. Okay? And that's not even disparaging him. I mean, would he deny that he's a Suns fan? Would he deny that he has clout? He's a Suns fan with some clout now, okay? But what he said is what he said in the past, and a lot of it's been wrong.
But this is my problem. Guys like that, he doesn't understand the CBA. And then you got frickin' Stephen A. and someone else on ESPN, I forgot who it was. They were talking about how that would be a good trade for Portland. And like, it's so dumb. It's like, but like, so this is the problem. The guy's like, okay, yeah, we're going to trade Ayton for the number 3 pick. And then all these people just run with it and just like think it's like going to happen now. And then they think it's like a valid trade and stuff. Like it's just so dumb.
So as I was saying, yeah, pay attention to the way this is worded, because I'm going to read it word for word from this guy, okay? He says, multiple sources have confirmed Portland has interest in DeAndre Ayton and could be willing to discuss a deal centered around the 3rd overall pick and additional pieces. Scoot Henderson and Brandon Miller are both considered to be foundational players in this upcoming NBA draft. Could be willing to discuss the 3rd pick. What? It's the same thing, because I've talked about this guy before. It's the same vague BS that doesn't mean anything, and then it's throwing darts at the wall and hoping, oh, maybe I'll get a bullseye. It's throwing darts blindfolded and hoping you maybe get a bullseye, because like, oh, well, I guarantee you it's something like Portland and Phoenix have like discussed Ayton a little bit, but I mean, that's probably Phoenix doing their due diligence. Go ahead.
I'll tell you exactly what it is. Portland is known as, people think they know what's going on here, right? They think Portland's desperate, right? Oh, they got the 3rd pick. They need to trade it for someone. Ayton's available. We don't want him. And so they just assume that Portland would do that. Like, this is just what the national media does and what people like Flex do. They just assume, and they base their multiple sources on just like a guess that like I'll call out some people like I've done it on the show before, Sean Devaney and Michael Scotto from Hoops Hype. Those people, they do this crap where they say, I just spoke with a league executive and he said that Damian Lillard's going to get traded this summer, like that kind of crap, and it's like, no, you didn't, dude. You did not. And if you did, that person's stupid, right? It's just like, the problem is people eat it up because it, to like 99% of the audience who aren't invested in Portland's situation and don't really research it or know, they don't know any better. So they think, oh yeah, that makes sense. Portland needs a center. Nurkic is the worst center of all time, right? Because I've seen all these tweets saying Drew Eubanks is better than him, so they have to get rid of him. And then, so they obviously need a center. If they're gonna make it work around Dame, you gotta do something else. that they just it seems believable, and all these people eat it up. So why wouldn't they tweet that? Like, I guess like if you're in his position, like you might as well just make up stuff because.
Well, here's what they do. They make up stuff like that, but they word it in a way where they can backtrack. Where people say, well, he didn't say for sure that they would trade the 3rd overall pick for them. He just said that they could be willing to talk about it.
While also putting the 3rd pick could be a foundational piece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why include that part if you didn't think that
you know what it is? You know what it is, Eric? You know what it is? He comes up with stuff to get Suns fans excited, give Suns fans a dopamine rush, and then they like following him. And then he gets clout. And then in the off chance that it's right, he can say, oh, I called it. But if he's completely wrong, it's, well, he didn't say for sure. It's complete BS. I hate that stuff, bruh. It drives me freaking crazy. Okay? For those of you who have stuck around like the channel since the beginning, I haven't really, talked about this much recently, but one of the main reasons I started the channel was because I didn't like the way the team, and in general the NBA, is covered. And I wanted a platform that I felt like talked about things the right way, called things like they were, and wouldn't BS their viewer base. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to create it, okay? Me and Eric, we're going to create it. We're going to do it. Because nobody else will. Part of the reason why I was motivated to do YouTube and talk about the team was because of crap like this. And it's just ridiculous, man. It's just ridiculous. Drives me crazy. So, that's the latest rumor, okay? That's the latest thing. You'll hear stuff about that over the next couple of days, probably. We are here to call out and dispel every BS rumor, just like we did last offseason. Anyway, Gabe, you should make a video. No, that's not happening. Or you can make a live stream and I'll go on it. And I'll rant if you want. I don't know. But I mean, I can't. I was in one of Gabe's streams during the when they lost, and then they got eliminated from the playoffs, and Suns fans were like talking about trading for Dame. I am proud of our community and how educated our community is, Eric. During this time of year, it always makes me appreciate our community because I see other fan bases and the way they talk about trading free agents and just the most crazy stuff that's just so out there. And chat can be kind of crazy sometimes, okay? But, man, it's so much better than the stuff I see on Twitter and on Reddit from other fan bases. So, chat, give yourselves a round of applause, okay? Because you guys are much better than a lot of the other fan bases I see out there.
Read what Gabe just wrote.
What did he say? He says, I'm working on a thumbnail right now. I am scared.
No.
Oh, God.
Latest
what
comment.
Else?
Flex got a good record, though.
Bamboozled. That's how Gabe would say it.
Gabe is a Flex fan, according to Connor. Yeah, okay, so I might have the real scoop if you want to read off donations, get caught up, and then we'll get into that.
Okay. Because you have a better track record with Portland than I think Flex does with Phoenix, let alone Portland.
I know you've been waiting since Tuesday.
Yeah, I've been waiting. Anyway, bouquet. Is that how I say it?
Bouquets, yeah, I don't know.
Gabe said he literally looks like DJ Khaled. What's not to like?
Another one.
Bouquet with the $10 dono says, been wanting to donate for a minute. Thanks for the content. Well, thank you, Bouquet. I'm glad you got into a position where you're able to donate. We appreciate the support.
Thanks for this.
Shout out to Connor, and then in parentheses, Connor. With a $20 dono.
Monday stream.
I remember something. I don't even do. My memory is not good enough. I don't really remember Monday because Tuesday was like 5 years.
Context was that Gray Hughes was on saying that people who don't have their name as part of their YouTube thing are weird. And so Connor put his name as so everyone knew he was Connor in parentheses.
Yeah. Not a fake alias. Okay, I like that. Shout out to Connor with a $2 dono. Says, can't believe we got to deal with another month of this ish. LOL. I mean, listen, the storylines in terms of like reality are fun, and I get to make videos about them, and the videos are gonna get views. We're building the community. Like we struggled for so long to get the final like 50 subs for 8K, and then lately, man, we had a bunch of people in the lottery stream, new Blazer fans, so being able to find new people in the community is always fun. But for those of you that are always over here watching every stream, I know your names, and you guys hold a special place in my heart. Especially you, Connor, moderator with the $20 dono. Thank you. Shout out Liam Best, $5 Australian dollar dono, says 2012 Dame coming into the draft, athleticism combined with putting on some of the best shooting workouts teams has seen. Would he be rated over Scoot? I don't think so, because like the small school, there was question marks about that. I mean, but then again, I feel like that's less of a question mark. I don't know. I feel like he would have been higher regarded, but he wasn't like lethal 3-point shooter in college. He was good, but he wasn't like lethal like he is in the NBA. So I think Scoot would have been rated higher over him. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, absolutely. Because Scoot, Dame was not a high level recruit. Went to Weber State. Scoot was one of the top recruits. Has been thought of as a number one or a top pick for a long time, or for several years. So yeah, I don't think so. But I mean, you can go watch this on YouTube still. I think Dame had like a legendary workout with Sacramento. They had the 5th pick, and they still took Thomas Robinson over him. Fourth in that draft was that Dion Waiters? I think that was that draft, right? Are you muted?
Oh, I was muted. I said I only forget 4 out of that draft. I think it was Dion Waiters, but I remember, because it was MKG, Beal, and then Thomas Robinson 5.
Yeah, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist goes too. So, like, if he didn't go higher than 6 in his own draft, I don't think you can say that Scoot is going to he beat out Scoot. I mean, it's easy to say that in hindsight, but yeah, I don't think Dame would have beat any of the top guys out for this draft.
Side note, teams have gotten better drafting at the top of the draft, for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Like, if it was Michael Kidd-Gilchrist today, I don't think he'd be a top 5 pick. He has a prospect, like, I don't think he'd be a top 5 pick.
Yeah, I think it's just a case where people have so much more, like, analytics to go off of, and they're starting to get a good frame of reference. It's not always ideal, like, and there's outliers, like Jalen Williams. We talked about this on the show several times. He ticked off several metrics that like no player had ever really been good that failed to meet certain criteria or whatever. Yeah. And he's obviously proven that wrong already.
Yeah.
So like it's not perfect, but there's all kinds of analytics that, for the most part, you have like a 70% chance of hitting on a guy if he does this, and this, according to these 3 analytics or whatever. So like, I just think it's the percentage of being wrong has gone down because like so many things go into it, and you have to basically find an outlier or have someone that like gets injured or something you can't really account for, like lack of work ethic or something like that ends up plaguing that person.
Yeah, but also forwards without a jumper don't get drafted that high, like unless they have like multiple clear skills, like handling the ball. You're not going to get an MKG or a Thomas Robinson who like can't shoot, aren't really ball handlers, aren't really playmakers. Like, the closest argument you could make is like, oh, well, Amen Thompson, he can't shoot, but the dude is more athletic than both those guys, far quicker, far better ball handler, far better passer. Like, he's a playmaker, like everything else. That's the only reason he's even in the conversation for the top 5 is because there's like so many areas where he's just clearly like really good as a prospect. So, it'll be interesting to see how Amen plays out, but like 10 years ago, I feel like Amen Thompson goes 2. I feel like Amen Thompson goes 2 10 years ago. Now it's like Brandon Miller, Scoot Henderson. So I just feel like you don't find those like Thomas Robinson, MKG, Derek Williams types getting drafted super highly anymore. Unless I'm forgetting someone. Who's like the last example of that in the top 5 that's been drafted?
Well, we still don't know about Chet.
He's a 7-footer that can shoot, so.
No, I know, but I'm just saying we don't know anything about how he'll be in the NBA yet. Wiseman, I guess. It's a good.
See, I think I'm just thinking like forwards, but yeah, Wiseman.
I mean, jury's still out on Kuminga too. Jabari Smith, I guess you could say, was a little. I mean, still, he finished the season strong, but you can maybe say he didn't live up to expectations. I don't know.
Yeah, I will say this about Kuminga. You could say it's like system, which could have helped him put up more impressive efficiency numbers, which could be true. But like his numbers last year were not. They were good for a dude's second year, 20 years old. 20 minutes a game, 10 points per game, 3.5 boards, 2 assists, 59% from 2, 37% from 3. Like, athletic, 60% true shooting percentage per 36. That's like 17, 6, and 3. For a small forward at 20, or he even played some power forward. He might even have that sort of size. Like, that's pretty dang good. So I'd say I don't think he's looking like a bust. But I would like to see him somewhere else to see if he could grow, which is why I traded for him in the mock offseason. Shout out to Elias with a $5 dono, and I hate this message because he says, you were forced to replace Nurk with one of the two, Karl Anthony Towns or DeAndre Ayton. Who are you picking, Drew Banks? Elias, thank you for the $5 dono. Who would you pick if you had to pick between Cat or Ayton?
Oh, this is disgusting. I might actually consider Drew Banks.
On a minimum?
Yeah, versus having to pay Cat. I think he's just starting his extension next year, right? With like over $40 million a year for 4 or 5 years.
I'd rather have Nurkic on his price tag than those guys.
Yeah.
For as much as everyone hates on Nurk.
If you're giving up the same for both, I'm probably taking Cat just because he could maybe space the floor, whatever.
God. Thank you, Elias, for the $5 dono, because that is just a disgusting question. Moving on. Hyperprime, $2 dono, says why they need to trade for Dame. They already have one as far as Phoenix and CP3. I mean, because now they're the Lakers, I guess. I don't know. Like, that's how it has to be, I guess. Like, they think they can get every star for nothing and trade their crumbs that they can't stand right now for the 3rd overall pick. So,
Murray, we have not missed it. You are up in a couple.
Yes. The next dono that I was just about to read. Shout out to Murray, $2 Australian dono. Says, y'all should use your platform to spread some rumors. Well, we would only use our platform to spread rumors that are, like, legitimate, because Eric will share what he hears for, but Eric doesn't do it for clout.
No.
That's why you should believe Eric. like Eric will tell you guys, just don't talk too much about it.
The one time you convinced me to put myself out there and try to do it, it didn't work out so well. So.
Yeah. So, yeah. Like, the only time Eric's really stuck his neck out there, GP2 screwed him. And it wasn't that Eric was lying, too. It was GP2 being GP2. We saw how that turned out. God. If you guys want to know the whole context behind that, rewatch the 2022-2023 season recap that should be on the main channel. I dropped it like a month ago. Really good video, by the way. Just recaps the whole season. And part of that, I put your description of how that went down because I felt like that was good to throw in there. Thank you, Murray, for the $2 Australian dono. And shout out Jamie Sanchez with the $5 dono. Says, what are your thoughts on rewarding upsets in the playoffs? The winner of a series takes the better seeding. I'm not really sure what you mean. Like, because when both teams in the next round be winners of series, so... Or are you talking about the team that beats the higher seed the round before gets the higher seed the next round? I mean, but the thing is...
reseeding it.
Yeah. Like, reseeding, you could make the case for that. Like, you can make the case that it should have been Phoenix and Denver, right?
Or are you saying, like, when the Heat beat the Bucks, now they're the 1 seed?
Yeah, they take the seed of the team they beat.
That might be kind of fun, but I also feel like that kind of cheapens the regular season.
Yeah, like, I don't like anything that cheapens the regular season.
Yeah.
So, like, reseeding could make the regular... Yeah, reseeding could make the regular season a little bit more worthwhile because the lower seed you get, like the Lakers, after beating the Grizzlies, like, they wouldn't have faced the Warriors as the 6th seed. They would have faced the Nuggets as a 1 seed, and we see how that series is going for them as the Nuggets won today and are up 2-0. We'll have a chance to make it 3-0 in Game 3 in LA, which, man, the Nuggets in the finals would be kind of strange, but also, like, kind of cool just to see a different team there, you know? Despite the fact that I don't like them. It's just always cool to see different teams in the finals and just, you know, because it gives me hope. Maybe one day it could be our Portland Trailblazers. Anyway, we are through donuts. Thank you to everybody for supporting us. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. We read every dono. So if you have a comment or a question that you want read, and you want to support us as well, that's the way to make it happen. Anyway, Eric.
Justin Kamara says, how would the new midseason tournament affect seeding? It won't. It just, I think you win cash if you're on the winning team, and it counts towards the regular season standings. And for some reason, the champion 2 teams play 1 extra game. But other than that, it doesn't affect standings at all.
I think they formatted it as good as they possibly could have.
Yeah, but it's still meaningless. Like, who cares?
I mean, would you care?
Well, I don't know.
Would you not care any bit more over a normal regular season game?
I mean, more than a regular season game, a little bit, but...
Yeah, so, I mean, I've come around to, like, why not then? You know? Because it's already a long 82-game regular season.
I mean, because Damian Lillard won the bubble MVP, right?
Well, yeah, if you're on Twitter, then I see why.
Like, then people like, there's not a single person outside of Blazer fans that do not call that a Mickey Mouse MVP, you know? Like, it's just like, yeah.
NBA fans have to be better. It'll never happen. But it's like, do they do that with soccer, Connor? Connor's our resident soccer fan. Do they do that with soccer where they, oh, well, I don't know who's the best MLS player. They won the mid-season cup. Mickey Mouse, blah, blah, blah. Evander or whatever. No. He could only win the mid-season tournament. He couldn't win the MLS cup or whatever. Like, do they do that with soccer, MLS? Yes, they do that with soccer. I mean, I guess you can't get away from it then, so whatever. But yeah,
I know. Like in the last World Cup, Messi finally got his World Cup, but he had been known as like a underachiever, right?
Yeah, Connor said the Timbers won our version of the Mickey Mouse Cup, LMAO. Do they really call it that in soccer, even though the Mickey Mouse thing is an NBA thing?
Confeca Cup, or what is it called?
Yeah, I mean, please don't do that. I hate fans that do that crap. It's just lame. Like, I get it. It's just, we're just giving Dame crap. But
I meant strictly in World Cup games, not being able to take his team to a World Cup champion. I'm not saying he's an underachiever at soccer. He's obviously not.
Yeah. Eric knows every sport.
I don't really know soccer that well.
What do you know better, soccer or NASCAR?
Well, NASCAR is easier to know, even if or fake that you know it. I guess I don't know.
Jakob, shout out Jakob. Jakob's my fellow NASCAR fan, and which is funny because he's from Norway, so NASCAR is like the American thing, the American down south thing, but like the one guy I know knows NASCAR as much as me probably is Jakob. Anyway, I'm not going to get on a NASCAR tangent there. You guys learned a little bit more about me if you didn't already know I watch NASCAR. Shout out to Joey, by the way. Let me know who your favorite driver is if you watch, because I'm curious. Shout out to Chatto with the $2 donut. His thoughts on Dame's petition. Dame's tweets or like the petition to keep Dame in Portland? It's just so stupid. I just
So for those that don't know, so there was a tweet from a Blazer fan saying that she was muting all of you that are undervaluing the Blazers' number 3 pick and insisting on trading Dame. What's wrong with you all? And Dame actually quote tweeted it and said, if the fans want to trade me, start a petition and send it in. And big surprise. This horrible person who has been banned from all our stuff, and if you haven't blocked him on Twitter, you probably should. Charlie.
The initials. Yeah. That dude.
So he of course starts a petition and tweets a Dame about the petition and all this stupid stuff, and so there's actually a petition out there for the Blazers to trade Dame. And then someone said that Dame said, "LOL, you ain't low. You want to leave, but trying to get the fans to push you out." And Dame responded, "I've been on the same time over a decade. LOL, I'm just saying that people got different wishes," with the shrug emoji. And then that same person who started all this said, "Dame was obviously trolling. Why you guys so dense? Go touch grass." And Dame responded with the laughing emoji to that. So I don't know if he's just like trolling people or what, but
he's trolling people. I mean, that's an admission that he's trolling people. And I could have told you he's trolling people because people are ridiculous. This is just the stream where I rant about Twitter and people, Eric.
Yeah.
Because, like, this dude's, as he said, been on the same time, but, freaking Bob with his, 16-year-old Bob with his Cheeto fingers, he's going to start a petition because he's actually secretly a Philadelphia 76ers fan, but he's going to say he's a Portland Trailblazer fan and he wants to trade Dame. So he's going to start a petition and then Dame will want out because of Bob. I mean, this is just what are we talking about here? I honestly don't like the Dame's trolling because people like us who have sat here and said we want the organization to be loyal. We want the fan base to be loyal to him. He's shown us the same loyalty. Be on the same time that he's on, okay? Like, it's more than just what is best on paper for me, okay? And for some people, it's all about how you put together the best roster on paper, because it's like the NBA is like 2K to them. They played some 2K, and it's all about just like, whatever you can do to get the best collection of high-rated players, right? So that's how they look at it. I mean, it's just a little frustrating because me and you have sat here and defended him and stood up against all the BS. So when he kind of like fuels it, even though he's trolling, it's like, man, it just gives us more to fend off against.
Well, so when he first tweeted why don't you start a petition then? And shout out to Colt after we just been talking about this. He said, did you guys see that Dame asked for people to sign a petition to trade him or something? Like, we're talking about that, but just giving you crap, Colt. But anyways, he's feeding that vocal minority, and that's, I think, the frustrating part. But at the same time, I mean, from Tuesday until this morning, I saw a ton of loyal fans that I thought were loyal to Dame and who were major Dame supporters that were like, you know what? Now that we got the third pick, I could really see us just moving on from Dame and like I don't understand. Like, yeah, I mean, if we end up keeping the pick and he doesn't want to be here, then so be it. Like that's his right to do so, and he's earned that right. But like to make him say he has to choose one or the other, like I don't understand.
It's the vocal minority. It's the vocal minority. The people that want to trade Dame are going to be the people that are loudest. We've talked about it. All the people that want to get rid of Dame that end up in our chat are always very aggressive and like very, very like over the top and rude with it. We have a dude who's making burner after burner in our Discord just to let us know that he wants to trade Dame and just spams the same stuff. Like, it's the vocal minority. Okay? Like, that's what it is. I saw the comment that said, like, most of Rip City Reddit wants to trade. Well, it's Rip City Reddit. Most of them think I'm the worst person on the face of the planet. For no reason. Other than...
You talk about basketball.
Well, yeah. Like, I talk about how I like my graphics, and I'm proud of my graphics too much, and, like, I talked a couple times about how I played college basketball. Which, the thing is... Most of the new people that subscribe have no freaking clue I play college basketball because I don't talk about it. I mean, that's the thing. Like, Rip City Reddit, you can't take anything seriously from Rip City Reddit. There's some good people in there, okay? But you can't take anything seriously from there.
And just
shout out to everybody that's like not completely off the rails on there, but there's a lot of people that are off the rails.
Yeah. I just want to say for the record, if you are like okay with exploring Dame trades, that's totally fine for you to do it. Just don't tell people Dame's washed. He has to be traded. There's nothing we can do with him. It would be the biggest mistake ever if you don't trade him right this second for nothing. Like that kind of stuff. Like like every freaking angry.
That's how it is, bro. That's how it is. Taylor, it depends on like what part of Twitter. But like even Greg Hughes, who's like, I got into it with Greg Hughes last night because he was just being, a couple nights ago, because he was just being really rude to people about how he wants to get rid of Dame. He called Dame's play like childish, and it was just like being kind of condescending about it. And I like Gray. I have no problem with Gray. He's super supportive of the channel. But he was like being super condescending and kind of insulting. I called him out on it, and then he got mad at me. Told me to F off, so then I had to ban him from the Discord. So, Gray, if you're listening, I don't know. It's just don't try and rile people up. Because that's the thing. A lot of people that want to trade Dame, too, it's like they want to rile people up. Okay? Kyle was there. He says that guy was popping off in the Discord. Yeah. You can want to trade Dame. Just everybody we hear from that wants to trade Dame is just so over at the top and over aggressive about it. And it's the vocal minority because they're very aggressive about it. I mean, just look at this chat poll. I did a chat poll. Do you want to trade Dame? Out of 93 votes, 83% of people voted no. Well, I would vote no, and you would vote no. And we don't even have our votes in there.
One of those votes, too, was Connor said he accidentally clicked yes. So.
Oh, so there you go. So it should be 15% say yes and 84% say no. I mean, there you go. Somebody take a screenshot. And it can be the image for the petition to keep Dame, I guess, because that's what we're doing now.
Yeah. Okay. So, this is, once again, let's just keep it between us. Top secret. Actually, get cut back up on Donos. There's a few more.
Yeah. Shout out to... Joseph Clark, $3 Australian dono says, who would take to make us contenders around Dame? We will talk about that throughout the stream, Joseph. Thank you for the $3 Australian dono. Eric might be getting into it with what he's about to share. Ended the poll, 85% say no, they don't want to trade Dame. There you go. If anybody needed any proof. Shout out to Caleb Pendergraph, $5 dono says, trading Dame could set up the team to be great in time, or we could be the post-Dwight Magic. Might as well ride with the greatest player ever. Blazer player ever. I mean, yeah, like we have the third pick in the draft. That's great, right? But how confident are you that you're going to be able to get somebody who's as good as Dame is? I think it's more likely that Scoot Henderson doesn't end up being as great as Damian Lillard's been in his career.
Yeah.
Because Damian Lillard set that high of a bar and he just had his best season. Like, even with the third pick, it's like, dang, well, I hope if we had Scoot that he could be as good as Dame is. Like, look at the freaking Philadelphia 76ers who went through the process. It was like storylines about how bad they are on purpose to tank for multiple years on purpose. They haven't made a conference finals. And now it's like, oh, well, if Harden leaves, maybe they start process 2.0.
And you know what? They don't have a single draft pick to trade until, well, they can't trade a draft pick currently, a first-round pick. So they can't even, if Harden leaves, they're screwed. They can't replace him. So if he just signs with Houston or something, they gave up several firsts for him for nothing and couldn't even make it out of the second round.
Which is another team that supposedly could trade for Dame.
Yeah.
With what?
With no,
I mean, they got
picks.
Maxey at least, but what, Maxey in seconds for Dame? Maybe we'll take on Tobias Harris's awful contract. Ooh, yay.
Well, it's expiring now, but
at least it's expiring. I mean, good for them. They finally are almost off that contract. Mm-hmm. But there's another team that has not a single first-round pick they could trade for Dame. That's been a landing spot for Dame. There's a lot of teams that have traded all their draft capital to try to contend and have not made the conference finals. So that's the thing. It's like, even if you want a Dame trade, there's not a lot of teams in position to give up what we should get back in a Dame trade. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that a lot of people are overlooking. Eric's talked about it. I mean, Travis Demers talked about it apparently on Rip City Reddit. So, I mean, like, it's kind of weird being aligned with Blazer media in regards to, like, oh, what's the team building situation with this team right now? There's not a lot of teams out there with asset capital that would want to trade for Dame. So, what's the landing spot for him? And how are you going to extract proper value? You're not. So it makes more sense just to keep him and trade the third pick. Like, that's the on paper argument if you take out the whole, like, being loyal back to him, etc. Take out the morality of that. If you don't care about that, you can make an argument on paper that it's much better to keep Damian Lillard than it is to trade him.
And let's just say we do get good with Anthony and Sharp and whoever we draft or whatever. So in 3 years when they're free agents, what's to say they won't want out and want to go somewhere else?
Exactly. And here's the thing. When it comes to trading the third pick, it has to be the right trade, okay? I'll read off the final couple of donos in a second, then we'll get to what Eric says. But I wanted to read this comment because with the third pick, it has to be the right trade, all right? I'm not just saying trade it for anything because Ayton Hill has a great comment. He says, I'm very uncomfortable with the idea of packing a couple picks and Anthony for Siakam. Everyone wants him so bad, but I don't think he's our missing piece. Anyone else? I will have to make a video on how Pascal Siakam is the one star that... I mean, well, he's not the only star, but... he's like the one star that people think makes a ton of sense for us, and like in the past, me and you have wanted.
I mean, he's a good player.
He's a really good player.
Yeah.
The problem is he doesn't solve the biggest defensive issue with this team. He's another Jeremy Grant defensively in my mind. So what, you're going to keep having Jeremy Grant on guards?
Maybe slightly better, but yeah, I get your point.
Yeah, it's you need a point of attack defender. You need to contain dribble penetration better. Pascal Siakam doesn't really help you contain dribble penetration from guards better. So that's the thing. And then shooting-wise, like, he's not much of a floor spacer. He can knock down some shots, but he shot 32% from three last year. I mean, that's... Matisse Thybulle, you could maybe have more confidence in his three-point shot next year than Pascal Siakam's. I don't know. So if you're talking about a guy who's going to be playing off the ball maybe more than he did in Toronto, it just fit-wise, Siakam is just not a good fit, in my opinion, on this Portland Trailblazer team. He's not the missing piece.
I mean, Siakam would get much better looks playing with Dame and Grant and stuff, but...
I have a hard time, like, oh, well, his three-point percentage is going to go from 32 to, like, 37% or whatever because he's going to get better looks.
His contract's also one of the bigger of the guys we're discussing, so you have to include more than just Anthony to match and stuff, and if you just barely match, then you're talking about being in the tax and how that affects other things with the new rules later on. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, the next two donos are regarding you. Says, well, let me think the one that's not, and then we'll segue with the two that are referring to you. Okay, Lucas Debias. Sorry, please let me know how to pronounce your name because I don't want to butcher names. I just don't know how to pronounce that. Debias. Shout out to Lucas. I know how to pronounce the first name. Thank you, Lucas. Appreciate you. Sorry for not knowing how to pronounce your last name. But what's the R22, Eric? You're my currency expert.
Just a second, please.
Yeah, we are milking these people who want to hear the Brant bomb. Tyler James says we keep delaying the Brant bomb. I want you guys on the edge of your seats, okay? We're taking this time so you can migrate from the center of your seat to the edge of it.
Someone probably...
DJ Vegas says I'm getting blue balled.
Someone probably could beat me in chat.
It's 22 or something. Thank you, Lucas. Appreciate you. Yeah. Says, no trade number 3. Brandon Miller is a new Kevin Durant. Only trade pick 3 if Charlotte selects Miller. But with Toronto, it has to be for Anunoby and Siakam, not just Siakam. Toronto is being too smart. Portland, no. Blazers need small forward and center. I don't like Siakam.
South African Rand, by the way.
South African Rand. Thank you, Lucas. Appreciate you, man. Shout out to chat. Andy Marchant with the guests, and then Elizabeth Allen with the confirmation. Yeah, so I mean, Brandon Miller is a new KD. That's a little optimistic. That's very optimistic. But I don't like Siakam as the center next to Grant. The rebounding is just atrocious with that team.
I like small ball at times or having the option to play Siakam at center. I don't like that as our main option or our main lineup. I don't think it can work. There's too many good centers. We're looking at Jokic right now, dominating in the Western Conference Finals and having an incredible playoff run. There's too many good players that you need a center to play against, in my opinion.
Yeah, so like I don't like Siakam at the 4 and Grant at the 3. I don't like Siakam at the 5 and Grant at the 4. I just don't really like Siakam in general.
And the other thing is too, we just talked about Siakam's contract. Well, if you add OG on top of that, then you're basically trading all your assets for that. So, but I'll get to why it doesn't make sense still in a minute too, because that has to do with what I'm going to say.
Okay. Yeah, I think at this point, I don't know. We'll see what you say. Thank you, Lucas, for the dono. Shout out to Arrowhead $5 dono. Well, let me thank Caleb first, because then we'll segue it. Shout out Caleb Pendergraph. Thank you guys for being so supportive.
People keep donating.
And blue balling chat. Caleb Pendergraph for the $2 dono says, Miller's off-court issues worry me. Amen for me. Yeah, we'll definitely have to talk about the off-court stuff at some point, Eric. I think we'll wait until, like, maybe we don't have as much to talk about to, like, kind of go in on that. And also I need to familiarize myself with the details of that situation before I really want to talk about it. But we will go into that at some point. Thank you, Caleb. Shower Arrowhead $5 dono says, for Eric's secrets and knowledge, $3 sign. Thank you, Arrow, for the $5. Shout out Connor with the $10. Says, oh, I'm getting a Charlie horse in my hamstring. That's not good. Shout out Connor with the $10 dono. That's why I need to start drinking this water. But Connor with the $10 dono says, enlighten us with your knowledge and foresight, Father Brant. All right, Father Brant, give Connor and the people what they want.
Well, first of all, on the Toronto front, Masai is still asking for everything. Ant, Sharp, third pick, everything. So, Blazers don't even
for Siakam or for Siakam and
Anunoby? Whoever we want. They're asking for everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's to the point. I told you guys this at the trade deadline. The Blazers are out on Toronto. Unless they somehow like stop being like this, they're done. They don't want to deal with Toronto. Like they'd rather just keep the pick and not do anything to do that kind of crap. So, like if you're thinking we're gonna get one of those guys for cheap, from what I was told, it's not gonna happen. Like those guys are just that. Like we talked about this at the trade deadline. They were asking Masai actually, from what I heard, told this to Joe Cronin. Don't even bother talking to me about Siakam unless Anthony, Sharp, and at least 3 first-round picks are on the table. So they just stopped talking. So they obviously tried to revisit it now, and it's down to the 3rd pick as just 1 first, but it's still Sharp and Anthony and all that. So and maybe even future first on top of that. So so like it's fine. Like I guess it could change. But I mean, this is why now Toronto's in a situation where now OG and Siakam both have a year on their contract. They're going to ultimately get way less for them. So I don't know if Masai's watching what Morey did with Ben Simmons, and he got saved by the James Harden trade, but now that trade looks bad, if Harden leaves. So maybe Ujiri thinks that he can somehow make it work still or whatever. But
are we just witnessing him completely fall off? Because he was looked at as one of the best GMs in the league, but it seems like maybe his confidence in himself got a little too high.
I just think he really values his players a lot, and I mean, he won a championship, so I mean, I guess that's his right. But I mean, it's still possible he just re-signs those guys and doesn't trade them. But I don't know how that team.
Where are they going then?
Yeah, I mean, they have the 13th pick, so I mean, they could hit on a pick again like Scotty. But yeah.
DJ Vegas says it could change, like how Utah lowered their price on Vando, asking for a ton until the last second. I mean, but we're talking about Masai Ujiri. This has been par for the course for him for a while.
I mean, so who got traded for first-round picks at the deadline? Kevin Durant, right? For a bunch of them. Okay.
Yeah.
Josh Hart did, right?
Yeah.
And Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And Jakob Poeltl. Right? Am I missing someone?
The Lakers traded like only 1 first in that trade, right? Well, and they got back like all 3 of Russell, Vando, and
well, the weird
Beasley.
part is that they didn't really get anything from. They didn't really have to give Minnesota anything because Utah ended up giving them seconds or whatever. So.
Oh, and Kyrie, says Trevin.
Oh, Kyrie, yeah. I guess that was like a week before they done that. Yeah. So, like, they were asking for a first for both Beasley and Vanderbilt, but they were not exactly playing well either to like be worth first round picks. So I don't know if it was necessarily their asking price came down. It's just they wanted that first from Utah over getting a bunch of they could have traded them separately and gotten seconds for both of them. Yeah. But they valued getting 1 first over like 10 seconds. And I'm Utah in the mock-off season, so I know that they Tori, you just asked me about a trade, and I only have 2 second-round picks, but I have like 8 million first-round picks, right? So like even if I want to get a guy who's second-round picks, like then I would have no second-round picks. So like they don't even care about second-round picks. They went all in on first-round picks. So it's not necessarily that they changed the value. They just valued that 2027 Lakers because, I mean, that's still 4 years from now. LeBron's going to be well into his 40s if he's still there. And who knows how AD's body holds up in 4 years. So, yeah, as Trevin says, the anti-Cronin. We valued 5 seconds, and they did not. But
see, like, let me just say this. If Cronin is... Okay, I am actually a little happy with Cronin if he's just not letting Masai Ujiri bully him.
Yeah,
it's not a high bar, but like if he's just like, okay, we won't talk then okay, that's good.
But I mean, from all I've heard, we're not giving up Sharp, and so like for them to say we're not talking trades unless you include Sharp, like it's just
yeah,
like, yeah.
I mean, but I like that Cronin is not just like, sure, you can have our best players. You know, we'll trade Sharp there because he's Canadian and you're in Canada, so we'll take back a second-round pick. And who's your version of Justice Winslow?
All right, so my next part might ease your mind a little bit then.
All right.
Okay.
Let's see.
From what I've heard, the Blazers are not going to do anything stupid. So let me explain what that means. Okay. They have a couple of guys they have targets for. And one of them, of course, you should still be rooting for this to happen. Game 6 last series did not go our way, right? But if the Celtics lose, I will sit here on this show and personally guarantee that Jalen Brown will be a Blazer.
If they lose. Jalen Brown's a Blazer if they lose this series?
Yes.
All right.
And the compensation is going to be, I mean, it's going to take the third pick, of course, and Anthony. But that it might be that getting the third pick basically makes it just that, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Are you sure you want to use the word guarantee, or do you? I know you.
No, okay,
you don't like 98% things like everyone else.
Well, like we just talked about this at the beginning of the show. I don't want to say they could or whatever. Like it's not guaranteed, obviously, but I'm confident.
You're willing to.
If they lose, yeah, let's just say, I mean, obviously he's in the playoffs, so it's not like last year where at this time Jeremy was here like working out with Dame and they were already planning on playing together, right? But let's just say if he wasn't in the playoffs right now, if they would have already lost, that might be the case.
Dude.
Yeah.
I mean, if they could get okay, I actually I know I've been low on Brandon Miller, but like if you're Boston and you're trying to get younger and still contend because like Jalen Brown wants out, you can't do really any better than like Anthony Simons and Brandon Miller.
Yeah. Right. Or Scoot.
Yeah. I man. Honestly, like is it me or does Ant and 3 feel like maybe I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, but doesn't it feel like a slight overpay?
Yeah. I mean, you know I love Anthony, so yes, I agree. I'm not assigning Jalen Brown, but that's the move because you keep Sharp. You have a core of Dame, Brown, and Grant with Sharp. I think even though it's an overpay, Jalen Brown's a proven, winning player, playoff performer, and stuff like that. And so, it is under, but I mean, you have to get a Jalen Brown, you have to give up something good, and we can only get him because he wants to come here. So, I don't think you're getting like. You have to include both, unfortunately, and so that's the cost it takes to get a star. And I mean, short of Giannis or Embiid becoming available, which I know Dame kind of joked about Giannis too, but Giannis also said that he had a live thing where he made it very clear that he wasn't leaving the Bucks or whatever. So,
dream,
huh?
I said the dream.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, obviously, if those became available, you maybe think about trading more than that. But if you're just talking about Anthony and the 3, what's the best scenario? I mean, I don't see a better player than Jalen Brown becoming available. So yeah.
Yeah. So, question. If you were offered Ant and 3 for Mikhail or Ant and 3 for Jalen Brown, would you do Jalen Brown?
I mean, personally, I really like Mikhail, but yeah, I mean, it's tough. I I like Mikhail's contract. He still has what 3 years left at like 22 million, and
Yeah.
you're gonna have to pay Brown probably a max contract next summer. Um, so yeah, yeah.
My next video is going to be on
But
like the best hypothetical
but
McHale trade, by the way.
but that's the other guy.
Teaser.
This is the other
Yeah.
guy. So Mikhail's the other guy, right? So they're gonna try to get Mikhail. Obviously, if Boston wins, then Mikhail is their next option if Toronto's still not talking, right? Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, so I'm fine with that option too. But here's the next part. Okay. And just before we get on to that, like I just want to say, like, I'm guaranteeing Brown if they lose, but like I mean go ahead and clown me if they don't trade him here or he ends up re-signing and taking the money instead of that. Because yeah. So
Eric, that's called being willing to take accountability. I
right.
respect.
Yeah. So I mean I'm going on a limb, but I'm not gonna be like, oh my gosh, you guys have to worship me, or like, you know. But anyways, here's the next part. They have those guys, and it's not a very big list. They have guys they'd be willing to trade Anthony and the third pick for, or you know whatever it takes to get them. But if those players either, let's say Celtics win and Jalen Brown's not available, or the Nets just refuse to trade Mikhail, the next step of that is that the Blazers are not just going to trade the third pick, like you said, for whatever they can get at that point, right? They completely feel comfortable just then pivoting and doing what they've always done, right? And this is the part that kind of scares me because it almost seems like it's setting it up to be a situation where they strike out or whatever, and then they just say the same thing that they've said at the trade deadline both years and last offseason, right? That next time we'll get it. Now we have another asset. So like, this kind of worries me that this is their out and that they've been just saying this stuff all along, because the next step is that if they do not get a trade that they feel is worthy of trading that third pick for, they are confident in just keeping that pick and making it. And I don't think they just want to force Dame out or do whatever, but they are willing to face whatever happens because of that decision, if it comes to that. So just got to hope, I guess, at this point that just like last summer, that Dame, if you want to keep him, would be on board with that, because it's a huge, I mean, just like it wouldn't even be Cronin's fault, right? But if Brown decides to not want out or stays in Boston, and Dame's been thinking this whole time, if Boston loses, we got him. If Boston loses, we got him, right? And he's been talking to him, you know, like, you're going to come here, right? You know, like that kind of stuff. If that happens and Dame goes from thinking, oh, man, we're going to get Jalen Brown next year to, oh, we're going to just run it back with Brandon Miller or Scoot Henderson or Men Thompson or something, and you know, make a free agent signing and maybe do another thing. But see, I'm kind of torn on this because at one point I want them. I still believe in just going young and letting Dame be a part of that, and him just as he gets older, the young guys take over and help guide him instead of him having to carry the team. But at the same time, if they've been just blowing smoke up his butt, saying that they will do whatever it takes to win, and they never actually make a move to help him try and win a. I just don't know.
I mean, I'll say this, okay? Like, what happened last offseason with Dame in regards to, like, trading that 7th pick? In regards to what the Raptors wanted back for OG Anunoby. Dame came around and said, correct me if I'm wrong, no, that's too much.
Yeah.
Just draft with the pick.
Mm-hmm.
Dame,
and he likes really, too. Yeah.
Yeah. That was with the 7th pick. We're in the 3rd pick. Like, it becomes interesting if Scoot's still there, but I think it makes it easier to pull off a hypothetical Mikhail trade. Like, I think it makes it much easier. But here's the thing. Dame's not... I don't think Dame is stupid. I think Dame desperately wants to win as he, gets up there in age, and he wants the organization to try whatever it takes within some sort of reason to win now. And if it's a situation where, like, oh yeah, we gotta give up 1 million assets and all we get back is DeAndre Ayton because Jalen Brown, the Celtics won the championship, and Mikhail Bridges is untouchable. And, that's the thing. It's like, okay, well, Dame, do you want to give up all that for Siakam? That's the thing, is if he says yes, it is on the table, and then you say no, that's when you have an issue. But if it's a situation where it's like, there is not a possible trade that is any sort of reasonable, and you go to Dame, and it's to the point where, like, what does Dame say? I could see Dame saying, no, that's we're not good enough. That makes no sense, just like he did last offseason. I think he's a little bit more desperate now. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that people underestimate. Drafting with the pick and then hopefully making the right free agent sign and then another trade, like, that's the thing. If we trade, 3 seconds and 4 seconds to get back Finney Smith somehow instead, and then, like, draft Brandon Miller with the pick, and, like, there's ways to put together a winning roster where you're not making a blockbuster trade. And then it's like, okay, we're trying within reason to put together the best roster possible going into next year. So this is the guys we've added. And then obviously our big time targets this offseason did not materialize. We will still be ready to pounce with Brandon Miller, Anthony Simons, potentially Shaedon Sharpe, potentially our future picks if we trade 23 to Chicago for a first back. Like, that's the thing. They just need to be on the same page, and the same page might not mean, no matter what, even if you're getting completely screwed and giving up every asset for somebody who's hasn't even been an all-star before, Mikhail. Like, that's the thing is I don't think Dame is completely unreasonable because, like, I understand the worry. And, like, that would be a worry too. But as long as the front office is just communicating the truth with him, then I'm not as worried.
But, see, this is why I don't agree with that. He specifically said out loud, I don't want to hear this offseason, we tried again, but couldn't do it. Then we're going to have a conversation, he said. But I don't...
But the conversation doesn't even have to be...
Right. That nuclear, Yeah, but that's what I think. He doesn't want them to do that. Because, I mean, let's just say how it is. Just about every other team in the NBA in Dame's tenure has tried to pull off a big trade or made a big move, and including, most of the teams around where we've been the last few years. And I mean, heck, the Lakers make that trade at the trade deadline, and they were horrible earlier in the season. Or they started off like 2-10 or something, and they make a trade. They don't even really get like D'Angelo Russell's been. He's had a few good games in the playoffs, but he's been terrible in this series. But like Denver has the MVP, and they had Murray get healthy, and Murray's a really good player. But they added some really good role players. But they've made big trades for Aaron Gordon, and stuff like that. They have like no assets now to get better, really outside of that. But almost every other team makes trades, and I just think he wants that big trade. But
we all want that big trade.
Right. Here's the thing, though. I don't think like if we go through the draft and he might be starting to get very antsy or whatever at that point. Yeah. But he's not going to. I don't think so. I don't think he's just going to be like, oh, July 1st free agency. I'm gonna ask out. I want to be traded, right? I think he'll at least go through it, and if it doesn't work out, but I think this is it. If you go that route again, you better make sure that it's not turning out like last year or the end of this year, because if it does, I just think that it's like, I don't know. I don't think he can handle if we're talking about fighting for the 8th seed or the play-in next year, and it makes sense for us to not make the playoffs because we get our pick again, like that kind of stuff. So, I just think Cronin's he's got to hit it. So you add Grant and Sharp last year, that was good, but you didn't do a good enough job filling the backup positions, the bench, the shooting, the defense. Like all those things were still weaknesses. But like if we get off to a 10-4 start again, or like even slightly worse than that, but we're up in the standings most of the year, it doesn't really matter what we did this summer, whether we traded for a star or we didn't, and kept the pick. Dame will be fine, I believe. I think he'll be fine if we're like the 4th seed and make the playoffs and we have home court or whatever, and we do okay in the playoffs. Don't get like swept in the first round like the Pelican series or something. Like I think that he can live with that. But
I mean, yeah, because that's where it's like if you make clear efforts to build out the bench in a much better way, that's clearly making the team better. Yes, it's not a splash, but role players have shown to matter a ton. I mean, just look at the Lakers. So that's the thing, is like everyone's like, oh, we got to get him a second star, which like I don't disagree that you need to get him like another dude like that, like a Mikhail or a Jalen Brown, but if you put a better defense around him, build out the bench in a way, and then give him a Brandon Miller who, I mean, maybe he falls in love with him. Like, I don't think it's, I'm not saying I wouldn't be worried, but it's not a situation where it's like, oh, they used the pick, that means he's for sure gone, like a lot of people act like.
Right. And I think he'd prefer to not have that be the option, but that doesn't mean he's like, given an ultimatum. One way or the other.
Here's the thing, Eric. Like, I hope that Cronin, not like completely, but to a certain extent, is letting Dame play GM. Trevin says, interesting that Brandon Miller is the name Torrey keeps going to, because here's the thing. While I like Amen Thompson more for the upside purposes, if you're talking about going for the future, Dame, in my opinion, would rather have Brandon Miller. Because Brandon Miller looks like a dude that is more NBA ready and a clear role on this team.
But he's fat and interview poorly.
Yeah, or whatever. But here's the thing. Like, let Dame play GM to a certain extent, right? So it's like, okay, well, Jalen Brown, they need to lose. If they win, Dame, you are boys with Mikhail Bridges. We want to trade for Mikhail Bridges. We're willing to do Ayton 3, which is a hell of a package for Mikhail Bridges. But Brooklyn doesn't want to do it. Can you get Mikhail to ask Brooklyn to accept this offer? You know what I mean? Like, Dame, like, work with us here. We are trying. Work with us. Like, I'm sure he is recruiting Mikhail, I'm sure that is the case. But that's the thing, is like, if you recruit properly, just like you did with Grant, we'll make it happen. You have some ownership over your situation here. You have some agency here. You know what I mean? Like that. That's how I would be approaching it. And then, that's the thing, is I think Portland would have a good enough trade package they'd be willing to do that if, like, Dame could go to Mikhail, could get Mikhail to say, hey, I want to play with Dame to Brooklyn, that Brooklyn would take a package. Maybe that's wishful thinking, but...
Yeah. So, all the people mentioning Scoot, this is why Scoot... It's just... Like... I mean, I think Scoot's clearly the second best player in the draft. I think Charlotte's dumb if they don't take him, or at least trade back and take Brandon Miller, whoever they want, at 3 or 4 instead of just taking 2. But Scoot's a point guard. We have right now Dame, Anthony, Sharp as our guards, right? I know Sharp can play some 3 or whatever. And this doesn't... How you feel about Scoot is completely irrelevant to this conversation. He could be the next Dame, just as good as Dame, or whatever. But it does not change if we're talking about building a championship with Damian Lillard, drafting another, 6'2", 6'3" point guard, no matter how good he is, would have the same questions, whether Anthony's here or not. We have a situation where Scoot would not impact getting to a championship with Dame being the same position and the same sized player as getting a Mikhail or a Jalen Brown or a Siakam or whatever. Like, those type of players fill needs that we have. Scoot could be really freaking good, but and this is kind of similar to my argument for Amen, is that, like, he's kind of limited on how much impact he could have unless he becomes, and Amen's a little bigger, so he could possibly fill a different role than Scoot could, but to me, it's just a situation where no matter how good this organization or people, including Dame, think Scoot is, it doesn't necessarily make the Blazers a championship contender simply by drafting him and running it back like it would either, getting a forward or trading that pick for a forward.
I mean, here's what they might have to do if they absolutely strike out. Absolutely strike out with trades with the 3rd pick.
I mean, you take the best player.
No. If Scoot's there, and they couldn't find a trade, the best option, if you're going the Dame route, might be to trade down and amass a bunch of future firsts that you then try and trade. The salaries and, like, how you'd match the salaries up would be iffy, but, like, if you can trade down, okay, get a good role player with, like, the 8th pick or something or whatever, because the team wanted to trade up for Scoot, Washington would make a lot of sense. The problem is I'm not sure how many firsts they have, but, like, if you could trade down, Scoot has so much value that you could maybe trade down to later in the lottery and get, like, 4 extra firsts.
Yeah.
Like Scoot has that sort of value. Now, it depends on the quality
like
of the fourth. Maybe it's 3. But here's the thing, Eric. You still have the 23rd pick. Say you get the future first back from the Bulls. If you could amass like 3 extra future firsts, then you could probably build a really good bench depending on how you use those firsts in trades. And if that was the scenario where, okay, we couldn't find a star trade for the 3rd pick, but we traded it down so we could get assets to trade for proven veterans that are good, that can build one of the best benches in the league, and maybe get the starting 3 that way, then that might be the option then.
To me, then I'm going to be so pissed off because why the frick don't we have like James Wiseman's contract to trade then? Because then we could trade like Nas and Wiseman and one of those first for like DFS and Royce O'Neal, right? And bam, we have our backup wings, right? Like it's just so frustrating,
I mean, yeah, I absolutely know the frustration behind the Wiseman thing.
DJ Vega messaged me. He's talking about it in chat. So he outlined a scenario where the Blazers got like 6 first to allow San Antonio to come back in and just get the third pick or whatever.
I want Vassell and Zach Collins.
Yeah.
And a bunch of firsts.
Yeah. So, so it wasn't trading down. I'll get the exact thing he said. I think you have to basically be Messiah in this situation. But see, it was so the Hornets trade back to 3 if they want Brandon Miller, and so we let them take Brandon Miller. They get to pay him less or whatever, knowing that part of the contingency of this is that the Spurs will not take him at 2 or whatever. And then the Blazers get 2024 first, 2028 first, the Hawks 25 and 27 first, and the Raptors 2024 first. So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 first. I think we'd probably ask for more than that somehow. But here's my problem though. The Blazers, that would put them in a great place asset wise. But one, is that still better than trading Scoot? If a team really likes Scoot, and 2, it is going to continue to plague this team is not having, like, they could have a trade for all of those picks where they could get a good player in each one of those things, but if they don't have the contracts to add, Well,
I mean, what you do is you get Vassell. How much is Vassell making?
I think you can get.
It's hypothetical.
Yeah, I think like $4 million or something.
I mean, you basically just flip like Keon for Vassell, use the TPE for Zach Collins.
Yeah.
And then you have those extra firsts, and then you try and package them with like I don't know, Nas plus Knox, maybe one of them for like a Finney Smith, and then maybe that's when, like, if there is a true center upgrade over Nurkic, then you do that as well.
Yeah, maybe a
But the problem is they can't be making a max, but, like, yeah, so that if you had, like, Dame, Ant...
It's always $4.4 million.
Yeah,
until the draft, 5.8 next year.
Yeah, maybe you flip Ant so you can start Sharp, but, like, if you had, like, Dame, Ant, Vassell, Grant, Claxton, and then off the bench you had Sharp, you had Finney Smith, you had Zach Collins, and then you use the MLE on someone, like the right person this time. I mean, look at what Bruce Brown is doing in Denver.
Yeah.
I mean, that team is much better than it was this past year, in my opinion, because it's just much deeper. Like, Sharp, Collins, Finney Smith off the bench could be the best 6th through 8th men in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you have future firsts maybe left over, maybe 1 or 2. Like, that's the thing. If you have future first left over, and you have Sharp, and you have Ant, you're still in play for that big trade, but you're making the team much more competitive next season. Like, that is a pathway we haven't really explored. I mean, but if Scoot's there at 3, I think if you keep Dame, you have to explore a pathway like that.
Yeah. Or, you draft Scoot and he dominates Summer League and is the Summer League MVP, and then he's worth even more than, and you could trade his contract in 30 days.
That'd be so weird. We're how we're like, oh, play this guy to showcase him for trades to make his trade value higher. We're doing Summer League for that. Everything is just ran to try and get Scoot as many good shots as possible to make him look as best as possible, so we can trade him. I mean, here's the thing. It's Jalen Brown, and then it's Mikhail as the backup option, and then after that, I don't know what it is. I mean, they don't sounds like they don't have a backup option to that, huh?
No, I mean, they'll try some stuff, tweaking the roster. Still don't know if they're completely confident in Nurk or not. So they might try to make a lateral move there just to bring in someone else that's maybe a little bit more mobile defender. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
I mean, I'll say this. Should I spoil my video? The trade I had in my video? Should I just do
It's
it?
up to you.
I'll do it. Still watch my video, guys, and leave a like on the video when it drops, okay? But since I'm spoiling it for you, just give me the views help out the channel, the likes help out the channel, and all that. Okay, so let me pull up the image here because I saved.
While you're doing that, Jano asked, did you think Shaedon Sharpe has to start? I actually feel the exact opposite. I think starting him would be a disservice to him. I feel like it would put too much pressure on him, and I don't feel like he would be as much a part of the offense playing with the starters a majority of the time. I think if you just groom him initially to be the man off the bench, and we saw what he could do when he got opportunities with the ball in his hands. And I know he can play off ball, but I prefer him to be in more situations like he was at the end of last season with that second unit, leading the charge there, maybe even being sixth man of the year. And then, a year from now, you talk about whether it's stupid to leave him in that position or bump him up to a starter spot.
Yep, I agree. Okay, so you can add first going to Brooklyn in this package because there would be first still that you could potentially trade him if this isn't enough. But this trade would be dependent upon Scoot falling to 3 because I think that's the only way you're able to kind of make something like this happen. Maybe with Miller as well, but Brooklyn doesn't really have a point guard of the future, so they could be looking for that point guard of the future and that future potential superstar, right? So this is the trade. I would like this better than Ant and 3 for Jalen Brown, to be honest. Maybe it takes an extra first. Maybe it takes a couple extra firsts. But if you're talking about winning next year, if you could keep Ant, get Mikhail, and get Claxton somehow, I mean that's the pipe dream. That's the pipe dream as of now.
Absolutely.
And that would be dependent upon Scoot's there, and they really want Scoot, and then the extra first are for Claxton, and Scoot's for Mikhail.
You know what? There's actually, I think it was Sam Vecini who had this. He actually thought the third pick would be even more valuable than you're suggesting, to where we could possibly get 21 and 22 back in that trade and not give up a future first and not give up Ant.
That's kind of my dream. I would rather have this than Jalen Brown in the third pick. So, even if Boston wins the series, which, I'm rooting for Miami, but even if Boston wins the series, this is, the dream that's left. And, Ant's boys with Mikhail and Dame's boys with Mikhail, we won't know if Scoot's there at 3 until the draft, so it's just iffy on how it all plays out. But, I mean, maybe you could get Mikhail to just, hey, Brooklyn, I like y'all, but, I would like to play here. I mean, but if you're getting Scoot and that's your superstar of the future, I mean, Claxton's going to be a free agent and he's unrestricted, right? He's going to be unrestricted. Yes. So who knows if a team could come in and pay him. I mean, that would be the pipe dream. Because then what would your lineup be? It would be Dame. It would be Ant. It would be Mikhail at the 3, your lockdown defender with potentially star level capabilities offensively. It looked like it in Brooklyn. Grant at the 4, Claxton at the 5. Your defense is much better just by replacing the small forward hole in Nurkic with Mikhail and Claxton.
Yeah.
It's just much better. And then you still have Sharpe off the bench, so you're not putting too much pressure on him.
Yeah. And then, so no matter what happens, if they keep the pick and just draft someone, or if they get Mikhail or this trade or the Jalen Brown trade, you can't just then rest on that. That's when Cronin will really have to make his work, and that's to fill out that bench. You have to have a good bench with that lineup, because if we're talking at some point next year about how, we improved the starting lineup, it's really good, one of the best starting lineups in the league, but our bench still sucks, and once the bench comes in, they ruin the lead. That's going to still be a problem. So, you got Sharpe off the bench, so that's a good step. But like if Drew Eubanks is our backup center in that lineup, you know, like that's just a complete failure, even though he pulled off a great trade. But I mean, that's been my ever since Mikhail, because like we've talked about this for years. Mikhail is someone that Dame would absolutely love to play with. That's not no secret. He's said that many times. And him and Ant and Mikhail, Minaz too, are all good friends.
Yeah.
So it would suck if we sent out Ant or Nas or whatever for him for that purpose. But Dame would like it if we got Mikhail. Mikhail's a great player. He's a great fit at the 3. He's almost exactly what we've needed in a 3 for years, even going back to the Dame and CJ years. So, but ever since he got traded, I never thought Phoenix would trade him unless it was for, obviously, you know, a superstar, which was ultimately what happened. And so ever since he got traded, that's been my dream. Like I've been on that Claxton bandwagon for a while now. And once they got Mikhail too, like, and they also have, you know, Dorian Finney-Smith, who I've liked as a combo forward or whatever. I think he'd be good. So like they have so many options. Like,
yeah. Within 30 seconds of the KD trade, you were like, come on, Cronin, get Mikhail.
Yep.
And I was like, they're not getting Mikhail with the deadline, Eric.
So yeah, obviously this kind of trade, I mean, they tried.
Yeah. I at that point, I was just like depressed, like, we're screwed. We're not going to have anything. And then it was like, yep, you're right. Cam Reddish and Kevin Knox, who I was like, I even called Kevin Knox getting traded to the Blazers when it was said the Warriors were going to reroute him. Like, but I don't have that same sense of impending doom. I just don't, which is weird. It's the first time in a while going into an offseason. I'm like, I think they can. Obviously, moving up to 3 helps a ton, but in that scenario, Eric, like I saw somebody say, "Oh, we wouldn't want to be the Phoenix Suns." Sharp next year as a 20-year-old is probably better than the entire Suns bench combined that they had in the playoffs this year. Mm-hmm. At least that's my hope. Like I mean, the Suns bench was truly atrocious. Truly atrocious. Like, Sharp would have easily been the best player on their bench as a 19-year-old at the end of the season with the way he was playing. Like, that's how bad their bench was. So, I mean, you still have assets, too. That's the thing. That's why that's my dream trade, Eric, is because not only do you add Mikhail, not only do you add Claxton, upgrade the center spot defensively, get your lockdown perimeter defender in Mikhail, not only is Dame and Ant boys with Mikhail, not only does it keep Sharp off the bench, but you still...
Our defense is good.
Your defense is better. So you can make the argument that the defense might be good enough that maybe that's a contender. Top 5 offense and like a 13th ranked defense. It's probably a contender, right? So that's the thing. That team might be good enough, but all those pieces fit into place and you still have potentially assets left over, depending on how you can structure it if Scoot's there at 3. So that is why this is my dream trade, because, I mean, hypothetically, if you really, really wanted to maximize the starting lineup and Jalen Brown wants out, I mean, Ant and Sharp for Brown, if you really wanted to get crazy, I know some fans won't want to do that, but, I mean, you could hypothetically maybe have a lineup of Dame, Brown, Mikhail, Grant, Claxton. You know what I mean? Like, now, obviously, this is kind of like, if Mikhail's a backup plan because Jalen Brown doesn't become available, then obviously, like, that's not really reality. But basically, you still have Ant, you still have Sharp, you still could potentially have a future first or two to add to that roster. You know, the future first at least, because you'd keep Ant and Mikhail, or Ant and Sharp in this situation. You'd still have the MLE, and you'd already have 6 of your 9 rotation players. MLE on one of them. Trade a first, you got a TPE. Maybe you can get another rotation player back. Maybe you trade, because in this hypothetical, you did trade out Nas and Keon, so it's hard to trade for, like, it's pretty much impossible to trade for a Finney-Smith at that point.
Yeah.
But you got the MLE to get to 7, and then would have to, that's where Cronin would, as you said,
the trade exception,
earn his paycheck, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe that's where you then go to Washington before the new league year, because Gafford's only making $2 million, and it's not a poison pill. Exactly. So
If if your centers are Gafford and Claxton.
Yeah. Yeah, like
That's pretty good.
Gafford was actually traded to Portland in our mock offseason, by the way. If you're not in our Discord, there should be a link in the description. And our mock offseason right now, we have 30 GMs running teams and making trades. And Portland somehow traded Ant for Siakam in 2 seconds. Basically, Krish got fleeced as the Raptors.
No, he got seconds. He didn't even give up seconds.
Yeah, Portland traded Ant for Siakam in seconds.
Yeah.
Like, all right. I mean, I'm not a fan of Siakam as the fit, but I mean, I can't say that's bad at all because that's just ridiculous. But then Portland. What else did they do? Let me go to completed trades. We have threads on our Discord, completed trades, so you can go look at the stuff if you want to. But Portland also traded Jabari Walker, the 23rd pick, and the 44th pick that they got in the Siakam trade, I believe it was, for Daniel Gafford and Isaiah Todd. So they traded the 23rd pick for Daniel Gafford. Maybe that's a little steep, but I mean, if you're trying to win, the thing is with Daniel Gafford is he's only making like what, 2.3 mil right now, Eric?
I think it's 1.9.
1.9 or something like that. So Portland has 2 trade exceptions. We haven't talked a lot about them, but they have one for Gary Payton, which is about 8.3 million. They have one from the Josh Hart trade, which is worth 2.6 million. So if you could get a Gafford, and it would just use the smaller TPE, you would use the Hart TPE. You'd fill a rotation spot. That's the thing. If you had first left over from that sort of trade, you could fill out the bench, and then you could have a deep, complete 9-man rotation. Like that's the pipe dream at this point for me. Now the thing is, with Gafford's contract being like 12 million once the new league year starts, then you're talking about not having the full MLE because you're paying Grant 30 mil, Mikhail 20 mil, Ant 25-ish million. You know what I mean? Like Dame 45 million, Claxton 9 million. Like you probably only have the tax MLE in that case, but you can still get someone for that.
Mm-hmm.
You could round out the bench. So that's why that's my dream trade. I have a video coming on it soon. Hopefully you still watch it. I spoiled the video. I don't care though. I wanted to talk about this. So that should be their backup plan. And Jalen Brown is plan A, it seems like.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, I think they would take that trade today if they could get it.
Yeah. Let me thank Donos. Shout out Caleb Pendergraph, $2 donut says, I promise that I will type one ha if Jalen Brown doesn't come. One ha for Eric. Yeah, everybody just with one ha for Eric. Yeah, I respect that you put it out there and ask for them to give you a ha for it. So, shout out Murray, $5 Australian dono. By the way, I will clip this, and if anybody says that as of right now, oh, everybody was talking about Jalen Brown was going to be a Blazer, it's not true. They're talking about how DeAndre Ayton is going to be traded for the 3rd pick.
I mean, it's almost exactly a month ago that I said this, too.
And he said this a month ago, too. Okay? So it happened with Jeremy Grant, where he had the details like 2 months in advance, and then all the details came true to a T, basically.
Almost nailed the exact trade, except for we getting the 46 back for the 36, but yeah.
Yeah. Almost nailed the exact trade 2 months in advance, and then Eric got no credit because, oh, well, everybody knew that Jeremy Grant was going to be a Blazer 2 months ago, which just wasn't true, but that's how they want to downplay this man. Okay, so if it indeed plays out this way, nobody's talking about, oh, Jalen Brown for sure is going to come to Portland if they lose this series. So that's where you give Eric his flowers, all right? And if anybody tries to discredit him on Twitter or somewhere else, you stand up to him as a cult member, as a part of the Blazers Uprise cult. Shout out to Murray, $5 Australian dono, says, do you think the Celtics would be inclined to take someone other than Ant if Scoot is available at 3? I'd love to see Ant develop with us. What are your thoughts on that, Eric?
I mean, I don't know if they would... I don't know what they would do. That's just... They could move those pieces elsewhere for someone else. I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, we talked about them having a lot of guards, but I mean, they could completely pivot and just go to a Scoot. Yeah, I think that would be a good backcourt. So
Yeah, and keep one of them as a third guard, Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, or Marcus
Yeah.
Smart, or, so, and then then they would probably trade two of those three guys for like a power forward or, some help in the front court. And they'd probably still be contenders, honestly, because I think Ant would be a star next to Tatum. Shout out to Liam Best with the $2 Australian dono. Says, would Utah trade Lowry and stuff if Scoot falls? I think maybe, but I don't know why Portland would do that because Lowry doesn't really make much sense here with Grant.
Yeah, kind of a weird fit.
Doesn't really help the defense, so I don't see Portland having any interest in that. Shout out to Brad Glanry, $5 dono, says excited for the third pick, Dame for GM. Yeah, I think giving Dame, as I was saying earlier, a little bit of agency in the situation, like help us try our best to make this happen, would be maybe take the frustration off of Dame if has some control over that in terms of like trying to recruit Mikhail, trying to recruit Jalen Brown. I don't know, just hopeful thinking maybe, but I like the concept. Shout out Kieran, $10 dono, says negotiating is so invigorating. Also, if you want to announce the trade on stream, that would be cool. So I heard Kieran made a trade and wants us to announce it.
Oh my God.
In the mock off season. So
Kieran, you're killing me right now.
Why?
Well, earlier while we were streaming, I got a text saying, "Hey, how do we send in a trade?"
I gave you a whole document. A whole document, not just a partial document, a whole document explained this stuff, bro.
So I said, "Did you read the guide?" And he says, "Sorry, it's been a busy 24 hours. I don't remember what it said. I can go back and check, my bad." And then he said, "Okay." He obviously read it, and then he said, "Okay, I'll send it in a bit. Just need to make sure I got all the details." I said, "Thanks. Normally I'd help you out, but I'm streaming." So I thought maybe, he read it and things were doing it. But then, so he submitted this trade, but it involves someone with a poison pill contract, so I just wanted...
Oh, fun!
Yeah, but it's not... They're not... I think they just didn't know that in this trade, none of the three GMs that were talking. But anyways, yeah. So I put so-and-so is on a poison pill, isn't he? What contracts are you using for this? Like his this year or next year, or are you factoring in the poison pill, which I knew wasn't happening? And then he says, "Do we count the salary for 2022, 2023 for these? I thought some of these were for the new league year." So I don't know if he's actually reading the documents or not, or paying attention, because it actually says what year we're on. I mean, that's pretty important part of the process, is that we are still in 2022, 2023 until the draft. Until free agency. Yeah.
I mean, you can word it to go through after free agency starts, but like if a team's in the super tax, then they can only take back 110%, or I think it's if they're above either apron, right? It's only 110%. So like I've made a couple trades that are set to start in free agency, and I made sure the teams I'm trading with, I made sure it was under 110% for them. So,
but anyways, how have you been negotiating and stuff if you have no idea what contracts you're supposed to be looking at and stuff? Like, I don't understand like how to get to that point.
So we don't even know if the trade he wants us to announce works, or does it not work?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to check.
Yeah,
like it's
not on stream, obviously.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
he tried with the $10 dono. Thank you, Kieran, for the $10.
They're obviously using. I think it works if you just is in the new league year, but it's kind of complicated. Yeah,
have to check. I like being able to toggle the salary on the right to next year to be able to look at that. Shout out to Colonel Pancakes, $5 dono, says, "I promised if we got number one, I'd give the other 50, but damn, I will take that third. Things are looking great. Screw Blazer fans that want to trade Dame." Thank you, Colonel Pancakes. Thank you. I was looking forward to that other 50, but I mean, third is good enough to make things happen. So
I was on AJ too, yeah, because he kept asking questions that were obviously
In the guide.
in the guide before we started, and then he said he read it, and then he asked another question that had a huge section in the guide, and I said, "You obviously didn't read it. Go read it." And then he, then later asked like several more questions that were all in the guide. So now I question if he's even opened it once. So yeah.
Here, since they can't open it, Eric. Here. I gave you guys a whole document. Look at this thing, chat, for a mock off season, just so nobody is confused. Look, it's 5 pages. Now, I typed up most of this like a couple years ago, so I just like slightly alter it. But look at this. Participation, ownership override, because me and Eric can like decide, no, you're not going to trade an unprotected first for that role player who's worse than the role player that you're trading out with an unprotected future first. Your owner says no, because that's realistic, right? Verbal agreements confirming a trade. I even tell them how to format it. All right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and they never format it right, but
hey, some of them have been actually. I've been proud.
They've been close, but
better than
like,
they've been close.
Yeah, which I appreciate people who do that. But, okay, for those saying that's a lot of reading or whatever, okay, but those are the same people who are now asking me questions and not knowing anything about how, like, I'm wondering how you've even done anything for 2 days now, the mock off season, right? So,
yeah.
like, just think, like, if you're, like, I'm more than happy to ask questions, but when you're constantly asking questions that are easily answered in that thing very clearly, it's just, and we talked about this, there's only 30 people that can be in it. We need people who are actually dedicated to learning and wanting to know how about that. If you're not willing to read a document about how it works before even doing it, especially when it's your first time. Now, I understand if you're like someone who was in it last year or something and didn't read it this year. But if this is your first time, that shouldn't be your excuse. You should have read it even more, like read it a couple times or something, so you knew what was going on. You had plenty of time till we posted that, like Wednesday or Sunday or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah. Or
like a teacher's assistant right now, and you're the teacher going off on class for not reading what I did for him.
Do like I did and make Reese read it to you, and that was great. And thank you,
honestly,
Reese, for doing that.
Eric, next year I am going into VC with every member
every new
and
person.
having them read it to me.
Yeah.
You can take. I mean, Arrow. I trust Arrow. Like Arrow can take 10 of them. You can take 10 of them. I'm taking 10 of them.
We could do like
it'd be like 9 of them.
Unlisted stream or something.
Yeah, and it can just be torture as I hear the same thing read over and over and over. But it's like, bro, if everybody did what some of y'all are doing in terms of like not really reading this document. Like, oh, it's a lot of reading, and it'll take you like 7 minutes to read. If me and Eric have to answer question after question from like 25, 26 different people, it's taking us a lot more than the 7 minutes it would take you to read it. And that's on top of all the other work we put into the mock off season, which is just for fun and to teach some of you guys the CBA and to like kind of grow closer with some of you in the community. Like, we ain't making a dime off that, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care about making a dime off that. It's for fun, and it's for, as I said, to grow the community, talk to some of y'all, that sort of thing. So if you can't take 7 minutes to read it, like, that's just, it's kind of bothering. So, because there's other people, I'm sure, in chat that would have read it 5 times to me, 5 times in a row just to participate. So, anyway.
But no,
Chase says, if I'm ever confused about something, most of the time the answer is in the doc story made. Exactly.
Well,
go ahead.
And here's the thing. Like, I don't mind questions. Like, if you're confused, you could be like, hey, so I was reading this. I read it in the guide, but this is my first time. Can you just help me or whatever? Like, yeah, sure. I'd love to help. But, like, yeah, like I said, when you're the second day in and you have no idea what salary you're supposed to be looking at, and you've been talking trades with pretty much every team. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Connor says literally just use Control plus F if you don't want to read the whole thing. Okay, here's a computer lesson. Okay, we're getting into life advice. Lucas, I'll thank your dono in a second. But this is like a little bit of life advice, okay? If you ever need to find something on a web page, okay, you can press Control and F at the same time, and something pops up. And whatever you type on the web page, you can use arrows to like go to certain sections that have that specific word or phrase, and it will highlight that specific word or phrase for you. That's called technology in the 21st century.
Kieran, we love you. We're just... You give people crap all the time. We gotta give you some, right?
Yeah. I like that you can.
I hope that you wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. He said earlier, $10 dono got flamed for 5 minutes. I told him he loves it because I think he does. I hope he does because I love it, kind of. Anyway, shout Lucas with a 22 South African rand donation. Says Bridges and Claxton won't make Portland reach the conference finals, not including Cam Johnson. Well, Cam Johnson's a free agent, so Bridges doesn't defend. Okay, that's just completely untrue. Are you thinking about Miles? I'm talking about Mikhail. Mikhail Bridges was like first team all defense last year.
A year ago, yeah. His defense wasn't as good this year, but you could argue, Suns had Booker missing for a while, and when he went to the Nets, he was the number one option. And as we've seen multiple times in Portland and other teams, it's a case where once you have that offensive load, your defense somewhat suffers. But as Trevin points out, he was second in Defensive Player of the Year voting last year. So I don't know how he doesn't defend.
Doesn't defend, yeah. I mean, like, I appreciate the dono, man, but the message is just completely off base. Like, we can't just throw Johnson into a trade with that pick because we have to wait until free agency because he's a free agent. So we can't just sign him and trade the pick. Like, it doesn't really work like that. And he might not want to sign in Portland. So then how does that work? Like, it's not possible. And then the final part of the comment said, Brandon Miller is better at attacking and defending. You cannot claim that he's better at attacking with what Mikhail showed some star-level slashing ability at the NBA level for the, like, final 25 games of last year where Brandon Miller... I mean, Mikhail's slashing and driving ability and, like, getting to the mid-range and that sort of thing at the NBA level the last 25 games last year, I think was better than Brandon Miller doing it at the college level. Not to say Brandon Miller can't do it, but to say that Brandon Miller will be a better attacker in the NBA than Mikhail Bridges is just really off base. And defender, like, Mikhail Bridges is a great defender. I don't know.
I love Brandon Miller as a prospect, but he is not in the vicinity of Mikhail as a defender.
Yeah. Only if Charlotte selects Miller to trade 3 for OG and Siakam. I mean, OG and Siakam makes no sense. You're going to start him with Grant and just be the worst rebounding team in the league? Because Grant doesn't rebound well for a power forward. Siakam wouldn't rebound for a center. Well, for a center, OG is maybe, average rebounding for a small forward. Dame and Ant are average rebounding for guards. So you're relying on your point guard, shooting guard, small forward to provide a lot of rebounding value because your power forward and center are poor rebounders. I mean, that's just going to be a really bad.
Well, you wouldn't have Ant.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't have Ant. So what? Sharp is going to have to get 8 rebounds a game. He's going to have to be our Josh Hart. Like,
and as I said earlier, they're not accepting that trade without Sharp. So
yeah. So yeah, it's just yeah. Thank you for the dono though. Shout out Jack M $2 dono says Bridges doesn't defend ROFL, which stands for rolling on the floor laughing. Give me a break. Yeah, are you thinking of Miles? I feel like he is thinking of Miles Bridges.
I mean, maybe he just watched the end of the season and didn't think Mikhail was a good defender. I don't know.
Lucas, I'd love to know why you think Mikhail doesn't defend, because I've never heard anyone say that before. Shout out Colonel Pancakes $5 donor says my heart was glowing when I saw Roy. After all these years, he has limited coaching experience, but would love to see him as an assistant. Yeah, I mean, like, I'd rather have him in the organization as, like, a non-coaching role, because, like, coaches get hired to get fired. And That's the thing is people are like, oh, well, Himiko just said Chauncey. I mean, like, some point we're going to fire him, and it's just going to be, like, breaking up for a second time, you know? So, I'm not big on having him as a coach. But, like, if you coach on the G League team, I mean, I think he'd be fine in that role. I don't think they fire G League coaches like that. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Eric also says, Eric, you and me like Miller unlike Torrey. Well, like, 85% of the chat disagree with me on liking Amen Thompson as an upside swing over Brandon Miller. Like, if I'm a rebuilding team at 3, I'm taking Amen Thompson. And that is a hot take. It's not even that I hate Brandon Miller. There's so many different parts of prospects games that can be like, and you're trying to translate these guys to the NBA level just based on what you see at a lower level. I mean, you could agree on a bunch of things with a prospect, but like 1 or 2 things will sway conversations and who you like more and this and that. So it's not that I don't like Brandon Miller as a player. Colonel Pancake says Brandon Miller showing in March Madness has really lowered his stock, but he's so damn good. I mean, if he's talked about being potentially going number 2, I don't think his stock has been lowered. And I don't know what it was, but supposedly he was injured. So I think you can give him a bit of a pass. Do you know what the injury was?
For who? Sorry.
Brandon Miller during the tournament?
It was like groin or hamstring or something.
Yeah.
Just a muscle thing. But
yeah.
I
mean, he can shoot the ball. I think he's a true 6'8". I think he's a true 6'8". Like, and he can shoot the ball. I would love to see his measurements. Maybe even he could even play some 4. Like, he'll be able to slash a bit. He'll be able to be like a secondary playmaker. He'll be a good NBA player. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being an all-star. I just have a tough time. I would just, like, if I had to bet on Amen Thompson or Brandon Miller being a top 10 player, I'd bet on Amen Thompson over Brandon Miller. Neither are likely at all, or, you know, but that's basically the conversation. So, did he not measure? No, he didn't. Did he measure?
No.
Yeah, he didn't.
It's not publicly. A lot of people didn't measure.
What would measuring privately look like?
Well, I'm sure, like, if like the Hornets were like, we need you to measure, I'm sure he would.
Yeah, true.
This is the last year where they can't, or they don't have to measure, though. Starting next year, you have to, or you have to do it sometime before the draft. Yeah.
Do you want to know what was said by a certain person on Reddit in regards to Flex? Eric?
Who is a certain person?
Travis.
Sure.
Travis said, he told Chad and I KD would end up in Phoenix 1.5 years before he did, along with other things he was dead on about. I talked to Flex tonight. I can't give the details of what he said. It's not my place. But I wouldn't be too worried about this report. Just all that, then shuts it down at the end.
Yeah, it sounded like it was going the other way.
I know. When I was reading it, I was just like, huh? And then I read the last part, and I was like, yeah.
Wait, KD's number 1 preference is Phoenix. Oh, wow, big way to go out on a limb there.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm sure he has a source that's, like, kind of a loose source in the Phoenix front office and, like, had some intel that was good. But, like, he's obviously, in the past, either came up with stuff or completely inflated just normal trade talks that like, aren't close, or just blatantly lied, and just, like, inflated stuff to being, like, something big and dramatic, and then, but worded it in a way where he could walk it back to maintain credibility.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it with him. I don't remember specific instances, but I've seen it with him before. I don't think it's a situation where he doesn't have a single source, but I think it's not like where he's just like, okay, this is solid intel. This is the only thing I'm going to share. It's like anything he gets, he runs with. Even if it's completely untrue or out there. Okay? That's what I think it is with him. And that's why I think it goes with some of the KD thing. But he was wrong on a bunch of the KD stuff. So it's obvious that the intel he's getting, some of it might be legit, but not all of it.
And as I know, like, not all info ends up being correct either, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
I will put this on I don't know what I'm putting it on, but there's no way the Blazers are trading the third pick for DeAndre Ayton. Like,
I'm down to like put it on the life of the channel.
They could trade for Ayton. I could see them being dumb and doing that. But there's no way they're including the third pick for that because they don't have enough coming back other than Ayton to make that worth it.
Yeah. It's BS. I'll put it on the life of the channel that they won't trade the third pick because honestly, if they traded the third pick for him, I don't know if I would want to do YouTube anymore.
Yep.
I mean,
Charlotte Uprise.
I would do I don't even know, okay? Like, you know how it's like, oh, I don't even know how amazing it'd feel to get Wemby, right? It's the opposite way. That would be as bad of a feeling as it would have been as good of a feeling to get Wemby. That's how bad that is. That's how disgusting that is. That's how freaking obscene that is. Bro, like, he shouldn't have even gone third in his own freaking draft. Oh, he's overpaid and not even a star. Like, he quit on them. Yeah, we need an edge, guys. Let's trade for the guy who just quit on his team on a max contract and he got paid and he just pouts and doesn't take the ball to the rim. But hey, when he shoots at the rim, he shoots a really good percentage. Problem is, he doesn't take the ball to the rim unless there's no one in front of him. And even then, there's that clip where there's like no one in front of him. He went up and just like fumbled the ball because he went up so soft. If you know what clip I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about.
Weezy says Dame can fix him, though.
But Dame can fix it. Dame's our psychiatrist and our GM. What else is Dame for us? He's a rapper.
Chris Paul, Kevin Durant, and Booker couldn't, but Dame will.
God, dude. I don't want soft-minded players. I don't want no Ben Simmons. I didn't want Ben Simmons even when everyone else wanted him. I don't want no DeAndre Ayton. I didn't want DeAndre Ayton when everyone else wanted him. We are good at figuring out which players aren't worth getting, I feel like, Eric. I feel like we're better at that than maybe anything else. You can just see it. Blazer fan says Scoot is not soft-minded. He's going to go right at Wemby, unless he's playing together because of the hypothetical we talked about earlier. I mean, Scoot, hey, I like Scoot's mindset. Scoot, Eric, just hearing him talk, like, I don't know. The edge he plays with, the motor, at least on the offensive end, he has that dog in him. He kind of has that it factor. Are you sorting out the Kieran trade?
I'm trying to.
Sounds fun. I need to catch up on Discord. Life advice time. 5 minutes of life advice, then we're out of here. So if you need life advice, ask us a question in the comment section, in the chat. If you're going through something that you need some expert, we're not expert, sat giving advice. But if you need some advice from 2 basketball YouTubers on life situations, we got you. So let us know, because we're going to wrap up the stream. We're over 2 hours in. We'll have another stream on Monday, okay? Monday, and we'll talk about whatever the newest rumor is. I'm not gonna need any, like, I'm not gonna struggle for topics in the next 2 months, Eric. That's gonna be nice. Ol Jakob says tips on not giving up on your dreams. I mean, I don't know. Think about how you'd regret it if you didn't at least try on fulfilling your dreams. And also, write out small, achievable goals in terms of working towards your dreams. Don't just approach it like, I gotta make this big thing happen. Because then it's gonna, you gotta achieve a lot of things just with this YouTube channel as an example, man. Like, starting off, I was hoping I'd be at like 20k subs by now. I'm at 8k and I'm happy, you know what I mean? Like, just approach it in smaller goals and it won't leave you discouraged. It'll keep you motivated. Life advice on how to get taller. Hang upside down. Go ahead, Eric.
Oh, there's that surgery now where you can have rods put in place or whatever. And I don't suggest it, though.
Medical issues 10 years from now. And
who cares if you're taller? Just be comfortable with yourself.
Being 6'4" doesn't help you get women, okay? It's not.
Did we get all the donuts?
Snacking K 2 minutes ago had a $2 donut that says Ben Simmons for Ant Sharp Nurkin 3, and I just didn't really want to read it.
Yeah. All right.
But thank you for the $2 dono.
Thanks, Snacking.
Kieran says, Tori, yes it does. I mean, what would you... Okay, I'm not going to diss Kieran more. Never mind.
AJ is playing the victim. He says, so I have this bully that has been bothering me for the last couple of days. He says I can't read and calls me out in front of my friends. What do I do? Okay. Here's what you do. You try to learn how to comprehend what people are saying. I'm not calling you out for not being able to read. I'm calling you out for not reading it. There is a difference. So I'm not saying you can't read. You have told me multiple times that you have read it and then asked me a question that is like 45% of what you were supposed to read in there. So
you just post a laughing face emoji.
That's not questioning
if
you can read. I'm literally questioning if you have actually read it, no matter how many times you've told me you actually have.
I knew he was trolling you. I'm like learning AJ's trolling because he is a troll. I mean, he's trying to make his case to be a mod. Eric is what he's doing because all our mods do this type of stuff. So. Yeah, you've been on one, AJ. I didn't realize you were the guy you are on Twitter, by the way. Until like yesterday.
What?
AJVSS or whatever. I didn't realize that those were this AJ. I mean, we could have 2 AJs that we know. I mean, how many... What is it, Coles? Don't we have like 4 Coles?
Yeah. They're all going to meet up at a bridge.
Yeah. The 4 Coles in the bridge. It's another chapter in the Blazers Uprise lore book we'll write 50 years from now. Jackson says, where's the 5th mod at? Who's the 5th mod? We got Arrow, we got Trevin, we got Jackson. Tori, what's your advice on balancing out women, that part of your life, and growth towards your dream? I know Eric is married. I mean... let me just say this. If you have the right woman, she will understand you working towards making your dreams happen, okay? And she will give you the space if you need it, or the time if you need it to work towards your dream. That's how you balance it. You find the right one, and you don't trip over ones that are super demanding of your time and take that away from working towards what you want to accomplish in life. Because relationships should be the combining of two lives. It shouldn't be, oh, we are going to live one life. You're going to spend all your time with me. It's not how it should be. So that's what I'd say. Don't stress about finding the right woman if you're working on dreams. Worry about your dreams. If the right one comes along, then she comes along and she'll understand. So.
Yep. They'll support your efforts towards your dream.
Yep.
Mine doesn't. Just kidding.
Sam Dooley says my wife is amazing. I'm glad, Sam. Happy for you.
Yeah, in all honesty, I mean, it's especially during the season when it's like 3 or 4 times a week, and we're having like 2.5, 3 hour post game shows, and that takes away a lot from family time. So you have to have someone who at least doesn't like hate you for that.
Yeah. Yep. Shout out to Eric's family for real, says Connor.
I mean, luckily kids are in school a lot of times, so they're in bed or whatever. But
yeah. And let me just say this. You don't want to date someone who's dependent emotionally upon you spending a ton of time with them. Because that means they have something that they need to work through. Like, it's normal to want to spend a lot of time with someone you're dating, but there's definitely people out there that need to spend too much time in a relationship because they struggle with something and they need that to get their mind off of it instead of just working through what they struggle with. And what they struggle with can be a bunch of different things. But you don't want a relationship like that, so those are the type of people that won't let you have the time you need to work towards whatever you want to work towards. So anyway, Kieran, that's what life advice is. Anyway, final questions or we're out of here. Or final statements if you got one, Eric.
Well, thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate you all. There's Zach.
There's Zach. Got all the mods in here except Krish. But Krish is like a mod in name only.
What's funny is Krish was messaging me during the stream, and I'm like, dude, I'm streaming. And he's like, oh yeah, AJ just told me. I think he was here.
Krish is the GOAT. Yeah, he is the GOAT. He gave Portland Pascal Siakam in 2 seconds for Anthony Simons, essentially. Anthony Simons got traded to the Spurs in that trade, so. Anyway, what's up, Zach? We're about to sign off. I don't know. Switch Nintendo dude wants to know what soda we drink. I drink Coke or Pepsi. I'm basic.
I like Coke or
need to
Pepsi,
drink
but
less.
I'm trying to not drink it right.
Yes. Get the stream to 200 likes before leaving. Yes. If you want us to leave, get the stream to... No, wait. If you want us to stay, just no, like the stream.
Don't say that.
With that being said, we're out of here. We will be streaming again on Monday. Videos between now and then. Oh, Sam hit us with a banger. Sure, Sam. Just because it's you, I'll give you one little life advice. How do you connect with a father that is narcissistic? The only thing I can talk about to him about is sports. All other things we fight about. I mean, it takes 2 people to want to connect if you are talking about like a quality connection. So it's kind of hard if he doesn't, you know. I don't know if you have better advice than that, but
yeah, I mean, I think that's a good one. I mean, honestly, with people like that, who are narcissists, you can just ask them lots of questions about themselves and let them talk and make them feel like you're doing that, and maybe they just get so comfortable with you. It's one way, but yeah, it's like
I would just say, or go ahead.
I'm just saying you have to. Those type of people aren't ever gonna just magically all of a sudden be passionate about you and what you're interested in and care about what you like and what you want to talk about or whatever. So if you truly want to have a relationship with them, unfortunately, you have to have a talk with. You have to talk about what they want to talk about. So it's either that or just give up.
Yeah, I'll say this. All other things we fight about, I mean, just set the boundaries that if a fight is starting that you won't partake. Now, if you're out for dinner, then obviously that's tough, but, like, you gotta set that boundary. And then maybe that doesn't help connection, but maybe that helps limit the bad parts of it in a way. But I don't know, man, like, sometimes a parent won't take interest in your life in, like, a real involved way, you know, like...
Well, this always frustrates me too because, like, I can't imagine being that way with my kids. So, like, I wouldn't ever, if they were trying to spend time with me or talk to me or whatever, I'd be like, no, I don't want to talk to you or whatever. Like, or I'm fighting with them all the time. Like, so I don't think it's the kid's responsibility to try and mend that. Like, at some point, they either need to change or you just got to realize that it's not something they're interested in. You can't force someone to want to have a relationship or talk to you. So, yeah.
Yep. I've been through it myself, man. I've been through it myself, so I know how it is. Anyway, thank you to everyone who donated. This has been a fun stream. Talked about a lot of stuff and got some good life advice. Got deep there for a second. It's good to get deep though. It's good to talk about things. All right. And we started that segment because I think it was like we wanted to motivate guys especially, but just anybody in general to open up about what they struggle with because it's a good thing and you need people there to talk to you about it. So that's why we have that segment. And I kind of enjoy it. Sometimes it's like trolley stuff. Sometimes it's legitimate stuff. We're here for all of it. Anyway, I have another stream on Monday. That is May 22nd. Live at 9:30 p.m. Pacific time. And we'll talk about whatever the new rumor is, because I'm sure there will be more intel and more stuff as we lead up into the draft. We're just going to be covering this entire draft process. Any rumors, especially regarding the Blazers, but even other rumors in general. Anyway, I'm looking forward to the content coming over the next month, especially in regards to this third pick. I will have more videos there on the main channel, so definitely check them out and join our Discord if you want to keep up with our mock offseason as well.
Also, we talked about hooping on Sunday. I don't know if you're still able to, Tori, or not, but sometime around 4-ish on Sunday, if anyone wants to come out and hoop with us. Dro is going to be in town, so he'll be there. You're going to duck him if you don't show up again. He'll never let you live it down. So
duck Dro. You kidding me?
So yeah, if you're interested in that, just hit me up on Discord or Twitter or whatever.
Zach, you can show up and be my cheerleader if you want, while I destroy Dro. That'd be cool. And yeah, I think that's everything.
Connor's saying Zach doesn't want Connor to cook him again.
No, Connor said Zach doesn't want to cook me again. Zach says, I said I can't play, didn't say I wouldn't show up. Well, okay then. All right, I was just saying you can still come and hang out with us, man. Give me that attitude. Attitude from Zach. Love you, Zach. Anyway, that's a wrap. We're out of here. Stay tuned with the main channel. Let Eric know if you want to hoop. Best way to message us through the Discord. So join the Discord if you want to do that. If you don't have an account, make an account. But it'll take us a second to trust you because we always have people make burner accounts that are like 5 minutes old and spam us, and it's real annoying. But So if you make an account, just it'll take some time to know that you're not just going to absolutely troll us and say we should trade Dame for the 54th pick. Anyway, that's a wrap. We're out of here. Have a good rest of your night, Eric. Have a good rest of your night, chat.
Thanks,
until
everyone.
next time, as always, peace out.